Do we need a buffer time?
No, I think it's actually started, so you can start on it. You can start presenting.
Okay. Hello, everyone, and thank you for coming to this presentation on this webinar. Today, okay. Today, me and Filip are going to be your hosts. First of all, why we are not?
I don't know. I'm not sure. Can you see us?
We are not live.
Technical issues.
The page. Are we live? I don't see the stream.
No.
From here.
Okay. Maybe somebody wrote that they can hear us well. Just one more. I think that's on Facebook. It was, okay. And we should put in the channel.
Okay. Also, what attacks?
Thanks.
Intervals.
Works.
Okay. Check out the system stream connection. Stream 1.
I kind of can see the stream. Okay.
Are we now okay?
I think we're okay. We can start.
We can start it again.
We can start.
Okay. Okay, again. Hello to everyone, and welcome to this presentation on this webinar about making an e-commerce system with Laravel and CommerceTools. Today, me and Filip are going to be your host for this presentation. First of all, before we begin, I'd like to say thank you to all people that help us to reach this so far. Now let's see the introduction part and what we're going to talk in this presentation. So e-commerce in time of pandemic, we will say our general overview on this whole pandemic. Also, we're gonna tell a few words about available platforms. For example, let's say Shopify, Magento, WooCommerce, and so on. Then we will go more deeply about CommerceTools, and then we're going to show also a few code examples how to integrate CommerceTools with Laravel. So for every online shop, we also need some template. So it will tell you more about the views and the assets. Also, the next on the line is the cart system and how we integrate. Also here we will show you code examples. The payment system in our demo project, we integrate Stripe and PayPal. So we will tell you more about here the Stripe integration, and also what we learned from the whole process on this presentation. Let's continue with the part about the e-commerce in time of pandemic, and tell our general overview. As all we know, the pandemic is still here. The government measures are still active these days. And in near future, we all hope to back to our normal lives, completing our daily responsibilities. Today we have an interesting topic to discuss. It's about e-commerce in time of the pandemic. We all know that we have police hours and limited time to go out. So we only go out when we need to buy something. And the same problem has a lot of countries. And the solution is here. Why do not buy something online? Also, e-commerce is not a new trend here, or look, we invent something. As far as we know, it's been here for a long time, but people don't take it that, let's say, seriously, or have not interest at all to buy something online, or maybe they think is not that relevant. So because of the pandemic, e-commerce, we know, grows. People begin to use it more often. People share their experience to each other and know that the system works. So they say, look, I can buy something online. This is too easy. I can pay with my credit or debit card, or I wait a bit and my market delivered me anything that I need on my door. We believe that people see the benefits of e-commerce, and after the pandemic, they will continue to buy online. In the past month, we prepare an e-commerce demo project, as we say before, using technologies like Laravel and CommerceTools, also integrating payment system options, and they are Stripe and PayPal. So mostly in this presentation, we will share with you our experience and what we learn from it. Now we will continue with the part. We will tell you more about the available platforms for e-commerce, and Filip will join me now to take this part.
Hello guys. Hello Filip. Okay, so basically I'll tell you about the available e-commerce products of today. Basically what I want to round up about this couple of slides is that when you go to e-commerce and you try to develop e-commerce, or you're a merchant yourself, you need to research and find the best solution for you. I'm going to list a couple of those today. There are many e-commerce platforms out there, and there's a worst thing a retailer or a merchant can really do is choose the wrong platform. The diversity in e-commerce software is really big, so as I said, you need research. But there's no certain software which can fulfill every need of the user. We'll list some of the choices offered, and we'll be able to see how our little tutorial can fit in the big picture, or why we think it's relevant in this day. I think that it's my opinion that everything in this world is either micro or macro, or basically everything has its own thing. It's big or small or medium. And e-commerce is really no different. If you need something which you don't like to manage, and it appeals to small to medium-sized businesses, there are offers which include an easy process to get set up, but there are not a lot of customization options. So a few contenders in this SMB market, or small to medium business markets, are the ones listed in the slide. The first one is Shopify. Shopify is one of the most popular e-commerce platforms in the world. It's pretty simple to launch a new store. You don't need any development experience. You just go there, sign up, and you're ready to go. This makes it popular with smaller e-commerce brands doing lower order volume. But depending on the added features and order volume, Shopify's monthly pricing can range from $29 to $299. But despite limited customization options, Shopify is a great option for small to medium business e-commerce merchants. Even though they have apps, they're still not so modular like systems like the enterprise ones. Second one in the list is actually WooCommerce. WooCommerce is not a software as a service solution. So basically you have to work on it yourself. but it is a WordPress plugin, which allows e-commerce merchants to turn their WordPress sites into online stores. It is one of the most popular ones in the world, in 2020, as I read. It allows for secure payment. They have a shopping cart, basically everything you need to start making a small store. And plus, if you want to host it on WordPress, you can, because you can integrate along other stuff with it. It's important to note that even though it costs additional money to completely integrate the shopping cart, so if you expect your business to scale quickly, consider choosing another platform which can suit your need. WooCommerce slows down as you add additional customers and products. For the next thing we'll check out is, of course, the big player in the e-commerce industry, which is Magento. Magento is tailored to enterprise level e-commerce businesses, and it's open source. Well, part of it, let's say. The community edition is open source. It's free to use, and you can host it on your servers. But it's a thing to note that, like any other enterprise-sized e-commerce tool, it requires programming and developer resources, which in turn creates a higher barrier to entry than plug-and-play platforms like Shopify. That being said, Magento offers a wide variety of features for enterprise sellers, including the ability to offer discounts, recurring payments, unlimited product listings, and a lot more features. Also important thing is that the basic version of Magento is free, but the enterprise version can cost upwards to $20,000 annually. So for a large online stores, Magento can be a great choice, but we don't recommend it for smaller mid-sized businesses with smaller product catalogs. Thing to note about Magento, which is really important when you're a developer, is that you have to manage your own architecture. Basically meaning it can increase the cost of maintenance of the system, and it can also be a burden to manage. So if you get to the point where your store becomes too big, you have to worry about the scaling and everything that you do in the company. You have to manage it yourself, like I said. Our presentation today is about CommerceTools. So it's about right that we talk about the general feasibility of the system and why is it different from everything else we have mentioned so far. CommerceTools. Well, before we go to CommerceTools, actually, we'll see the market share. I'm not sure if this is a new picture. I think it's from 2018 and 2019. These are the shares of the e-commerce platforms. You can see Magento, the community edition, has 33.8% market share. After that is PrestaShop, which PrestaShop I think is not, I might be wrong, but I think it's not doing so well right now. Next is the Enterprise Edition, and after that is Shopify. There's a lot more players in it, but we're not going to know them all. Okay, so what is CommerceTools? CommerceTools is a visionary headless commerce platform best suited for enterprise clients. Why is it visionary? It's visionary because it's 100% cloud and 100% API. Basically, it's headless. So you might ask yourself, what does headless mean? Headless means that when you make the front end, the back end is already complete. You don't need to worry about anything. You just need to call a certain API endpoint to do some action, and they take care of the rest. Contrary to Magento, where you need to manage everything that you do, including databases and server scaling and load balancing and everything. So just to recap, you make a call to their API and they take care of the rest. Also, it's a good thing to note that contrary to Magento, you can use everything you want in terms of languages. And Magento restricts you to some of the methods you can use to code. It has to be PHP, and it has to fill in a certain type of standard which they provide. Sometimes a standard is a good thing because it allows for for tested applications to be there, but the modularity of CommerceTools is way greater than Magento, for instance. You can use any language, as I said. They have SDK, software development kits for a lot of so basically you can do whatever you want, and you can customize your software however you want. It's when you see it at first, you think it's just about the store and the POS part of e-commerce, but actually they offer so much, as you can see on the slide, all the way from mobile apps, marketplace, IoT things. They even go to virtual reality, voice devices, and a really cool thing to note is that they offer AI. I think it's in beta, as it says in the documentation, but they have a product categorizer, data quality enhancer, so basically you can utilize AI and you don't need to manage about it. You just need to feed the data and get some sort of a result. So a little recap, what does CommerceTools offer? It offers modularity and freedom of development like no other platform out there. What does eCommerceTools support in terms of languages? It supports basically every language because it's an API, and also they offer a lot of software development kits. The third one, it's not a question. I just wanted to talk about the documentation. I really like the documentation and the way it's written. It's easy to follow, and everything is listed, the smallest detail. So there's basically no way you can get lost in the development. The differences, and the last question is, what are the differences in modularity? As we talked about, when somebody allows you to use your own code and use your own imagination, I think the sky is the limit. And some of yeah, so Magento does not do it. Next thing we'll talk about is Magento and Laravel and CommerceTools. Andrej will show you about that, and I'll return after.
Okay. Thank you, Filip, for your brief and detailed explanation. Okay. So, well, we talked previously about CommerceTools more in depth. Now, let's say a few words about Laravel before beginning to explain how to connect CommerceTools with Laravel framework. Laravel is mega popular PHP framework with a strong community. The main purpose of the Laravel framework is to follow the best practices for development for developing a web application. The security and scalability are a strong side of the Laravel framework. It also gives us tools to achieve rapid development in a short manner of time. So it's important to know because of the strong community and big support from lots of developers around the world. There are also lots of blog posts written by them who describe Laravel in many interesting ways. For example, let's say how to use Laravel migrations and object relational mapper, or also known as ORM. How to integrate Auth0 service in Laravel. That is service you can find it online. It's for a single sign-on. One of the interesting topic, let's say, that I know, and Filip also, server-side rendering with Vue.js in Laravel framework. Really interesting stuff we read there. It's about that you can compile JavaScript code on the server side, and finally is to render it to the client. Also, let's say, making a PayPal integration with the Laravel framework, the whole process, let's say, of payment. Also, best practices of Laravel, solid principles, and many more. So because of this, this presentation title is called How to Make an E-Commerce System with Laravel and CommerceTools. So we go now more deeply into the code. Let's see. Yeah. So CommerceTools support PHP and give us an SDK package to help our easy integration with any PHP framework. Let's say here it can be Symfony PHP or maybe Slim or Flight, I don't know. Currently, we will demonstrate an easy flow with the Laravel framework. So first thing first, in our console, we run the command composer install CommerceTools, PHP SDK. So this will insert the necessary dependencies to use for CommerceTools SDK, SDK wrapper. As you can see here, we have an image. Sorry. We here have .env files. So we set CommerceTools credentials that are given. So we have client ID, client secret project ID. We can get them after we register on the CommerceTools site for using their API. We will use them to help CommerceTools recognize our application. We also must know that CommerceTools is just a service, but we want to call it a service with superpowers because of his flexibility. So we will define a class that initialize the service and make it ready for usage. And here it is. That class, CommerceTools service.php, is declared in the service folder and then in the app folder of the whole project, of the root of the project. As you can see, we have here a constructor and we use the environment variables that are predefined here. And with this constructor, we initialize the CommerceTools. So one important thing to mention is this image. Here we see declared method make client call with request object. Some of the code can be found, you can find it on the documentation, but for our purposes, here we make some customization that we can use. Yes, and this is the one important thing. Don't forget to declare necessary namespaces. Yes, so we have here the request builder. We will demonstrate in the next picture also the category collections. In the next slide. Okay, so here we have two methods, and one of them is get all categories, and the other is get n categories. They're pretty much same to each other, but in get n categories we have add params that we set the limitation of how much number of categories we want to give to the client side or also on the view side. So here we build the request with the request builder, pass it to the function that we declared before. Here is that function, and these methods return the category collection. Okay. So we only show here a part of the code, but if you want to see the whole implementation of the service and what methods we use in our CommerceTools service, we share with you a link. But no worries, we can share with you after also the presentation. Okay, so what we have next? We have the views and the assets part. Okay. So as we know, we mostly use them to perform user interfaces to the client. Looking from aspect of the design, we have to say that in the interest of time to develop an e-commerce project and also to be more focused on business logic, we use in our demo project a free e-commerce template. So the question is here how to integrate the template design in the Laravel project. Yes, here is the image. On the same start, we can make an appropriate layout to be shown for the needed pages. What we see here is a file organization of our views part of our project. Every folder contains different views and partial views to display his own logic. Now we will look more deeply in the part where is declared layout and shop cart folder. Okay. Yes, this is the main layout that we use on almost every page. Here we see only the part of the body where we have yield content. Here it is. That help us to easily render the whole layout in the pages where we use the layout. On the next slide, we have the cart part, and here it is. In the cart folder, we have an index.blade.php file that uses the HTML. To call the layout, we need to extend it with the keyword extend template layout. This command will look for a layout to render it in the cart page. Also, we use the yield content for layout that is mapped through the section content in the cart view. The same principle is for the title of the page. But what about loading the data? Okay, we can think it more abstractly. The data is taken before the view is loaded. For now, we know that we have an array of objects that are served from the backend to be shown on the view. Here we use the for each loop through the products in cart view. If there are not any products in the cart, we will show an appropriate message to the client. For example, there aren't any products in your cart. Also, the client must know what the costs are in the cart. So in our demo project, as you can see in this part here, we displayed the subtotal and the grand total of the client. To summarize something about the views is Laravel uses a Blade templating engine that is smart enough to recognize objects that are served to the view and give us the usage of their methods. If all looks good and we not see any errors, whole page will be rendered. And here is example of our demo project. You can see it here. Okay, so give some conclusions here. Using layout in view help us better organize our HTML and loading the data. Using layout can help us easily customize design issues and offer us a global state anywhere that the template is used. Loading objects to view give us better readability and more power, definitely using instead of arrays. It's good practice to look at the views in a more domain side, because it's good for scalability and how the project is organized in the future, how the project grows. Okay, so in the next, you will see the next part where Filip will explain the card system. Yeah. Wait a second.
Okay. Here we are. Okay, so basically, when we made the system, the first thing we did was actually show the products. So naturally, after showing the product, the next thing that comes in mind is actually doing the cart. The cart is a really simple concept, really, because there's a couple of actions which you need to add, and you need to also use cookies in it, and you need to make an add to cart action, basically. The first picture that we see is the add to cart action. Basically, when we iterate through the products, we have an on-click action, which is add to cart, and the first entry parameter is the product ID. A good thing to note about this code is that the product get ID is actually a method on the CommerceTools product object itself. So everything you get in CommerceTools is wrapped nicely in an object. It has methods which you can use to pull out stuff and add stuff to it. So it's really intuitive to use. So we can see a href, we can see an add to cart action, and just a simple label, which it's basically a button, and you can check it out. Next thing, when you actually press on an add to cart button, is the add to cart JS method. The add to cart JS method looks something like this. We can note that the product ID that we passed in building the HTML is passed here. We're making a variable data, which is an object of a product ID. The main reason for this is because when we agreed on the naming, we said that the parameter passed into the backend will be under a snake case instead of camel case. The next thing we need to see is the AJAX request. An AJAX request basically just posts to a root of your choosing. The root method is actually a helper in Laravel, which can build the URL for you. It's a short name for, you can set a short name for URLs and build it. We paste the data in, and the two most important things of the call are the success and the error function. It's a little bit messy, but it was for demo purposes. The first one is the success. When the system actually returns a success, you fire a sweet alert. The sweet alert, for those that do not know it, it's basically a more beautiful alert system library in JS. It tells the user, good job, you've successfully added the product to the cart. And the third parameter is actually the type of alert you wish to display. The error function of the AX call is we get the response, we decode the response because it's in JSON, and then if the status code of the response is 400, which CommerceTools actually returns 400 if you have the product in the cart already, we just fire up a swall which says, oops, product already added to cart. You cannot do that, you can maybe increase the quantity of it. Okay, so when you post with the AJAX, the root actually calls the product add method. The product add method is listed here. But before we talk about it, there's a couple of things we need to note about the code. The shop cart controller basically injects a dependency of the cart service for using in the product, because we don't wanna set business logic in the controller, of course. And it just calls the cart service product add method. Another really important thing to see here, because somebody might not work in that way, is the request object actually is sent as it converts to a data transfer object, and it sends it to the service method itself. After that's done, we just return a response, a JSON response, which we use in the AJAX call. And also very important is that we return an active cart ID. So basically, we make a cookie which is called active cart ID, and we set the ID of the cart in the cookie, so we know in the future what cart actually belongs to which customer. Also, there is a thing to note that this tutorial about the cart system is actually for anonymous users. It's not for registered ones, but CommerceTools offers a really convenient and simple way to transfer the cart to a customer or making customer cards on. So I added this picture just so you guys can see the request object. The request object is a typical request object in Laravel. The rules are not so extensive. We just added required for the demo purposes. Basically, if you have the product ID, you can send it to the background. The most important part of the request object is the converted DTO method. It's a public method which you can call on the request, and it returns a cart product add request DTO object. Basically, it returns a new object, which the first parameter is product ID, and the second parameter is the cookie. Some of you might wonder why we send the cookie as the second parameter. That's because if a user already has a cookie on their computer, or on their browser, sorry, we can recognize that and not create a new cart every time a product is added. We can update the one he already has. After that, we send it to the cart service. The cart service is noted in the tutorial itself. It's very extensively written, so if you have some issues understanding it, you can simply send us a message and we'll take a look and answer you. Here we can see the CommerceTools service from the service layer. The service layer is basically separated by domains. Each domain does its own actions and its own thing. The CommerceTools service, we made it so it's integrated. Basically everything that we send or receive from CommerceTools, we're calling this service. It's not. It's the whole business logic of the service is just to contact the API of CommerceTools. I think this was mentioned before. Yeah, so basically in the constructor, we just set the config, we set the context of it, and we initiate the app. This is the constructor. And after that, there's a end method which we call, which builds everything from this. Another method to see is the get cart by ID. The reason I put this method here is just so you can see how easy it is to build the actual request and send a call to the CommerceTools API. We have a string, an entry string, which is cart ID, and it returns a cart object. This cart object is actually in the SD software development kit, and you type hint at all time. Always type hint return parameters. We have the request, where we use the request builder class. We add the domain that we wish to query or build the request for, and the final thing is that we get the cart by ID. A nice thing to note is that the software development kit is so well written that it actually helps you with the autocomplete, and it's really easy to use and understand. If you know what's usable, then you can experiment with it and just check the flow out of it. And when the request is built, you just return the final method, as we call it. It's not final, but it's the last one called in the chain of operations. We send the object with it, and it returns a certain type of thing. This is our big method, but it was also for demo purposes. This is the add product to cart method, which basically receives a product ID and nullable cart ID. Remember when we talked about the request, we said that we're sending the cookie ID from the cart, so we can use it here to either create a new cart or just update the existing one. A good thing to note is that a good practice is when you only need to create the cart. I mean, the ideal place and time is to create a cart is when you add a new product for the first time. So just take that in mind when you build the e-commerce. So we can see that we get the cart if the cart ID is not null. We make a new line item draft collections. That's another object in the software development kit. We get the line items of it. We set the product ID, the quantity ID, and we just add it to the collection. We add the line item draft to the collection. Also, we add a new one with the quantity and set the currency and just make the request. The else is for a new cart. So basically, this is for the update cart, and this is for a new cart. It's same thing like the last one. You just call the request builder. You point it to the domain you want to modify or query, and then you call the create method, which you insert the cart draft item into. And for the final thing, you just call the final method we spoke about. So there's a couple of questions here. What's next for the cart system? The next thing for the cart system is basically allowing users to register and convert the cart from an anonymous one all the way to a registered user cart. And I think that generally wraps the usage of an e-commerce cart system. There might be something else. As long as I've seen, that's the only thing a cart can do, even in big sites like I don't know, Amazon or whatever. And after that, when you finish the cart system, there's the checkout. We made the checkout, but the checkout is a guest checkout, and it's only a provisionary checkout. It's just to display the functionality. Okay, moving on to the checkout and the payment system. What is the first question is, what is the payment system in e-commerce or in CommerceTools? Basically, CommerceTools does not bind you on using any particular payment system. They let you use what you want. So when you're done with the actual payment, you just need to tell CommerceTools to create an order, and that order will automatically even out the quantity for the SKUs in the background, so you don't need to worry about anything of that. When you make an order, the stock is automatically reduced. Next, the checkout procedure. A general checkout procedure is when you add to the cart, you have to have your own cart index, and the cart index contains all the products that you added to the cart and the quantities of them. That's the general functionality of the system. And when you can see your items, you can click checkout, go to the whole process of you actually fulfilling the order, making a payment, and finishing your purchase. Before we go on to the next slide, we said that just a moment. Basically, we decided the best thing we need to do is actually use Stripe, because Stripe is the least complicated payment provider to use there. So the documentation is very extensive. It's really easy to use. So we just went with that. That doesn't mean you can have multiple ones. We later integrated PayPal, and it's really simple to integrate. There's just one point of sale. You don't have to do subscriptions, nothing of that, unless you sell subscriptions. But I think there's only one point in time when you do the checkout process, and that's what you need to worry about. So basically, this is the JS for the Stripe call. The reason for the underlines is the editor just gave the error that there's a duplicate script tag, so I had to make the screenshot like this. There's a variable called Stripe, and it initializes the Stripe SDK key, and the only thing you need to pass to it is the environment for the Stripe public key, nothing else. And after that, when you created the Stripe instance, you just need to call elements. Elements is a built-in solution. It's ready to go. You just call the elements and you put the style in the form. After doing that, we are creating the card. The elements has a create card method. It adds the style as a second parameter. It mounts it to a certain ID in the DOM. And we add event listener, which on change triggers an error message. We add an event listener to the form on the submit of the form. Basically, all of the code here is listed on Stripe's documentation. And when we add the add submit event, we actually create a token with Stripe, one single use token, which we can send in the backend and finish the transaction. You can see here that it actually adds it, and it submits the form at the end. The checkout form looks something like this. There's a checkout charge route, which we call. Stripe doesn't limit you on what you can send to the backend, of course, because they only care about the key. So if there's something like shipping address or whatever info you want to collect with it, basically, you just send it to the backend, write it for yourself, associate maybe the Stripe ID with it and the order ID, and then you're good to go. But I think you can put that in the order. It's better to keep it actually in the order of CommerceTools. Here we can see the first name, last name, and an email. And you can see in the tutorials, there's a form which actually will generate a view from Stripe. So I didn't mention that. Stripe actually generates the front end for entering your credit card details and actually generating the token. These are the routes for the checkout. The first route is actually the get route of the checkout controller. All it does is takes the cart, shows what you have in your cart. That's the index screen of the checkout, and it shows you what do you have so far. For the second method is the checkout charge. It calls the checkout controller at the charge method, and it has a short name. It has a short name. It's a good practice to have short names in Laravel because it's relative routes and it generates the routes generate properly. The next thing we're moving on to is the checkout service. The checkout service is, as we said, a service related to the checkout domain. Basically, it means that it cares for everything related to checkouts, right? And so it takes the cart, it just takes the cookie of it, and it returns the index page index page along with the cart object. Next one is the charge. So this is the controller. This calls the checkout service charge method. It passes the Stripe token and the cart ID. When that's finished running, we forget the cookie because there is no need for us to keep the cookie anymore for the user. It's done. Then we simply flash in the session so we can display some sort of a success alert in the front end, and it just redirects to the home route. I think this is the last method we're going to look. This is the convert cart to order method. So after the payment is finished, you just pass the cart ID in it. The cart gets fetched from the CommerceTools service. It makes a new address here. It says the street name. This is everything hard coded just for the demo, but it says the shipping address, and it calls you build the request for the orders domain, and you can create it from the cart itself. It's really intuitive to build. We didn't add in the slides, we didn't add the Stripe charge method in the payment service, because I think that you can easily see that from the documentation and understand it. So it just needs the token and an amount which you can send to Stripe. And it returns a Boolean of sorts. Okay, so what did we learn so far?
Okay, we learned that this is incredibly easy to build an e-commerce platform with CommerceTools. Definitely the future of e-commerce is API-based. The e-commerce market will will be extending and is extending due to the pandemic. We can easily use the Laravel framework in combination with CommerceTools to get stuff up and running quickly using pre-built tools. Also, Laravel helps us to organize our code better for usability and domain understanding. CommerceTools worries about the scalability, looking from aspect of how much products we have or number of users in our eShop, so the developer can focus on the important stuff, let's say business logic or what are the new features that clients want. So to recap, it's good to know tools that are not as represented in the market for extending our knowledge and for development of online shopping applications.
Yeah, I was really amazed on the power that CommerceTools provides. I heard only recently about the platform, but I'm glad I did, because this will change the future of commerce, and I think that it will be widely and massively adopted in 2020.
Yep.
Okay, so we have no question slides, so you can ask your questions and we can answer them, of course. We just need to open up the Q&A. Okay, that's not exactly a question. It says, I have never coded in PHP, but I can understand you guys very well. Good job, guys.
Thank you. Also, we like to mention that you can ask questions also on YouTube, so we are there live. Yes.
Okay, that's the question done. There is no question on Zoom. Is there some question on YouTube maybe?
Okay, we will check. Oh, thank you very much.
Thank you very much as well. We'll just wait a minute or two to see if somebody writes anything, and we can end the webinar.
Yes. Nice information. Thank you.
Also, I would like to point out a certain thing. Sometimes due to parallel processing of the code, it's okay to return an error and simply fetch the latest data and show to the customer if an error happens. This of course, in e-commerce is I don't know, caught by a certain exception which returns a 409 status code.
Adriana says, you rocks.
Thanks, Andrea. Well, I think there are no more questions, so maybe we can close the webinar for now.
Or we will wait a couple of minutes.
When will you do a webinar about good practice in Laravel to explain the TDO? And I guess somebody means the DTO, data transfer object.
Maybe, I don't know,
guys,
maybe in
whenever
the
you like,
future.
whenever you are interested in it, we can do a good practices in coding session. Yes. Thank you, John.
But we'll coordinate with our practice lead about that.
Yeah. There's a question which says yes. I think that's answered.
Yes.
Okay. I think that there's no more questions. We can
end the webinar. Yeah.
Thank you guys for being with us. I hope you really like it. We have worked on this thing for the last couple of weeks.
Yes.
This is, of course, scratching the surface. So CommerceTools is a very, very powerful platform. I sincerely recommend, if you are interested in e-commerce and coder of every language and every seniority, you can check it out and see a lot of interesting stuff on there. So that's about it.
And one more thing, thank you Interworks for this opportunity.
Thanks Interworks.
Okay,
that's it.
We can end. Yeah.
Okay. Bye guys. See you later.